It's time to talk some Mariners. The M's trail the first-place Astros by 5 games heading into their weekend series. Astros insider Adam Spolane joins us from Houston with more on the series. And Adam, first of all, thanks for coming on. Let's get right to this matchup. What have you seen from the Astros that makes you believe they can have sustained success since taking over the top spot in the AL West?
I don't know, because I don't know how they are having success right now. This season has gone, they drew up this season a certain way, and it has not gone that way for them. But they play hard, they play the right way, they're really smart, and they've been able to piece things together here the last month or so. And they came out of the break and lost 3 in a row to Baltimore. They were 7 games under 500, and people were wondering, are they going to sell at the deadline? And then all of a sudden they won 11 of 12 games. So it has been a very strange season. They've gotten an MVP caliber season from Yordan Alvarez. Josh Hader missed the first 2 months. Since he's been healthy, he's been elite. And they got tonight's starter, Peter Lambert, has been a savior for them. I mean, this was a guy who was in Japan last year. He had a good spring training, but he didn't make the team out of spring, and he was granted his release. Anybody in the league could have signed him. He went back to the Astros, started the season in AAA. He came up 2-3 weeks into the season, and he's basically been their most consistent starting pitcher.
Yeah, you mentioned that the slowness at the deadline, whether they were going to sell or not. What was your take on the deadline? Did you expect them to be a little bit more aggressive?
They did what they could. It's really hard for them just because they don't have an unlimited budget. They're right up against the CBT, and then their minor league system just isn't very good. And so I think that they definitely were trying to improve the roster as best they could, but they were just going to get outbid really by most teams when it comes to minor league prospects. And you look at the one move that they did make, they traded for Dalton Varsho, the center fielder from Toronto. They had to trade off the major league roster essentially to get that done. So when you look at what they've done at the deadline here the last couple of years, they have avoided trading their top end prospects, which they really only have 2 or 3 right now. So they tend to trade off of the major league roster. And so that's what they did here. They did it a couple of years ago with Yusei Kikuchi, who was a huge contributor as they won the division in 2024. But I do think that they were aggressive. They just could not get anything done just because they're limited with what they had to offer.
Okay, Adam, the Astros go into this game with the Mariners with the 4th best batting average in the American League. So the question is pitching, is that the concern right now for this team going down the stretch and whether they make a big run for the pennant?
Honestly, I think it's the offense that is probably their biggest issue right now, just because the lineup at the top is excellent with Jeremy Pena, Yordan Alvarez, and Isaac Paredes. Like, those 3 have been very solid, but when they slump, and they've been slumping here the last week or so, that bottom 6 is not very good and has not been very good. That's why they really went out and addressed the outfield, because their outfield has been one of the worst performing outfields in all of baseball. So the pitching hasn't been very good, when you look at like the team ERA. But and I give Joe Espada and Josh Miller, the pitching coach, credit. They've done a really good job of piecing together 27 outs every single night. And a lot of that is, Lambert doing what he did. They've gotten some decent starts out of Hunter Brown. He has not pitched at the level that he did last year when he finished 3rd in Cy Young. But the bullpen is pretty deep. And if they don't have to lean on those guys too hard, they can piece together games. That's what they did the other day in San Francisco, where they used an opener, Brian King. They wound up having to use 2 relievers just to get through the first inning, but they didn't let that game get out of control. They were down 1-0. They used Imai as kind of a bolt guy, but he only went 3 innings. But then they were able to piece the rest of the game together with AJ Blubaugh, who's a rookie, who's had a really nice year out of the bullpen, kind of a multi-inning guy. Steven Okert, who they just picked up off the scrap heap before last season. He's maybe been their most valuable pitcher this season. And then Brian Abreu, who struggled, was really unpitchable at the start of the year. He's really come on here in the last couple of months and has been about as dominant as he's ever been. And then you have Hader at pitching the 9th inning. So they've been able to piece together games. It's just a matter of if Alvarez hadn't hit a home run in 12 games. So if you're not getting like real production from him, and Jeremy Pena struggling, and you're not getting much from Paredes, can they piece together enough offense with that bottom 6? I think it's going to be really tough for them. But again, I think Espada, we talk about how Espada pieces together things with the bullpen. He's done a really good job with using his bench, which isn't great. It did get better with the Varsho trade, but they mix and match about as well as any team in the league right now. And so I think that's what's been able to carry them through. And I think they've got a minus 27 run differential this season, but yet they're 2 games over 500 just because they're really good in these close games.
Hey, as we wrap it up, Yordan Alvarez, you've talked about him quite a bit today. He's considered the front runner for American League MVP. He's always been a threat. He likes to crush the Mariners. If he's rolling, he's tough. Where has he improved this season?
He's just been healthy. Like, that's been the big thing for him. He played 48 games last year, and he had a hand issue. He had a lower body thing towards the end of the year. This is, without question, the best season that he's had, but I think it's probably also been the healthiest season that he's ever had. So I think that he's done a pretty good job of not chasing pitches. I don't think that's been an issue for him in the past, but I think that he's gotten better at that this season. But just the fact that he's been able to be healthy and he's been in the lineup, I think he's maybe missed 1 or 2 games all season. I think that's been the big difference for him.
Interesting. Well, the Mariners fans will be glued to the set this weekend, their phones, wherever they can watch the Mariners-Astros series, with the Astros leading the M's by 5 games heading into the weekend. And Adam, we appreciate your time today. Thanks for all the insight on the Astros, and have a great weekend. Enjoy this series.
Yeah, thank you for having me.